7 months to hit 188,000. There's not one person in here that I don't think could do it with some focus, consistency, and commitment. Okay? You're all very, very capable of it. But let's go. Draw a line. Draw a line in your paper, please. So what we're going to do is we're going to help focus you right now on the next 6 weeks. We have, write this down, 6 weeks between now and the Superstar Retreat. There are 6 work weeks between now and the Superstar Retreat. That gives us 30 working days. That's 30 working days. And then I wrote down here, time is running out. Christmas is coming. So here's a question I wrote down. Do you know someone who by the Superstar Retreat in the next 6 weeks who would make between 4 and 10 transactions, could put 4 to 10 transactions in escrow, pending, not closed, over the next 6 weeks? You know anybody like that? Okay? You know people that could do that, right? So here's what I want you to do. First, I want to write their names down very quickly. Just real quick, just write who you think that could be. All right? Johnny, Mary, Susie, Louie. Okay? Write those down very, very quickly. Now, if you haven't done this, I want you to write this person's name down right below. If you haven't done it, I want you to write your name down. Write your name down there. If you haven't put your name on that list, write it on that list. People who could, between the next 6 weeks, do 4 to 10 transactions gone pending. Next 6 weeks. Could it be you? Is it possible? Absolutely. Why not? 4 to 10 transactions. So I wrote down here, let's review some of the activities needed to make this happen. So let's write down some of the activities I believe you're going to need to do this over the next 6 weeks. So the focus is the Superstar Retreat. Think about walking in the room. You're going to walk in the room, you've signed up, you've gone over, you've got your badge, you've got your tickets, you're standing out front, you're waiting for them to let everyone in, and then everybody goes in and you rush over to get your seat, and you walk in and you know you've done, in the last 6 weeks, 6 deals, 7 deals, 8 deals, 10 deals. How are you going to feel about yourself? Pretty good feeling, isn't it? Think about that. Think about how you're going to feel walking into that room. So write this down. The first thing you need to work on is daily time management. And I want you to think of your time management right now over the next 6 weeks as time choices. Not managing time, but time choices. What are you going to do in that particular piece of time? What activities will I do during this period of time? And then I want you to write this down. And everybody's going to write it down just like this. I can do anything for 30 work days. I can do anything for 30 work days. I can eat better. I can exercise. I can door knock. I can phone canvas. I can work on my scripts and dialogues. I can do anything for 30 days. Now, I may not be able to do it for 60, and I may not be able to do it for 90 or 120. I get that. But I can do anything for 30 work days. Write that down. So let's go through what the 30 work days would look like in terms of numbers. I wrote down here to make 40 contacts a day. That will take you about 4 hours of prospecting per work day. 3 hours in the morning or before, let's say, 1 o'clock, and 1 hour in the late afternoon or early evening. Get your family to buy into this. You're going to take an hour of their time in the early evening or between 6 and 8 o'clock, and you're going to focus on 1 hour of appointment setting. And the deal is, get them to buy into it. We're going to have 3, 4, 5 more pendings because of that. Each pending for you is worth what? $10,000? So if you normally were going to do 2 deals, and now you do 6 deals, that's 4 extra pendings at $10,000 a deal is an extra $40,000 because of this efforts and activity. You think you could get your spouse or significant other to buy into that extra $40,000 we're only talking about 30 workdays. We're not talking about the rest of the year. You guys with me on this? Okay? Where'd my little centurion go? Huh? See? See, you could have your picture with this, or like this, or like that. So if you do 30 workdays, if you do 30 workdays, and you make 40 contacts a workday, you're going to talk to 1,200 people. So write down 1,200 people. Now, let me ask you a question. If you did talk to 1,200 people over the next 30 workdays, do you think you might find some leads that if you followed up on would turn into appointments, and those appointments could turn into listings or sales? Is that possible? Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. 1,200 people. 1,200 people in 30 workdays that you could talk to. So I wrote down here, the 6 weeks gives you 12 days off. The way I count, it's a 5-day work week. Okay? So you have, in those 6 weeks, 6 times 7 is 42, right? Everybody with me? My math correct? You take 12 days off, that leaves you 30 work days. So I'm giving you, in 6 weeks, 12 days off. So you get time off. That makes sense? You get 30 work days, 12 days off. Now, in 30 work days, write this down, there are 720 total hours. Okay? In 30 work days. 720 total hours. And I'm assuming most of you don't sleep more than 8 hours a day. Humor me, okay? So if you sleep 8 hours a day, 30 work days, so subtract 240 hours of sleep and rest off of there. And 4 hours a day times 30 days is 120 hours of prospecting, right? You're not going to even prospect as much as you're going to sleep. It's pretty good, right? And that's going to leave you an additional 360 hours of not prospecting. So of 720, get this big number, of 720 hours, I'm only asking for a small pittance of a 120-hour commitment. And that 120 hours, well, you'll talk to 1,200 people, and those 1,200 people we've already established will probably want to buy or sell something now or in the near future, and all we're looking for is somewhere between 4 and 10 more pending. That's it. Then I wrote down 1,200 contacts. We've already established we can do the 1,200 contacts, right? You guys with me? Okay. So 1,200 contacts, and based on the numbers, the people that I coach run between 120 contacts and 300 contacts per closing. Some are a little bit higher, some are a little bit less, but that's about my range, okay? So if that's the case, there's your view. If you're somebody that does 120 contacts, and you divide 120 contacts into 1,200 contacts people, that's how many deals? 10 transactions. If you're somebody that does 300 contacts to get a closing, and you divide that into 1,200, how many closings is that? 4. So there's my 4, and there's my 10. You guys with me? You thought this was the first time I did this, right? So, I'm going to ask you again. How are you going to feel walking into the Superstar Retreat with another 4 to 10 pendings under your belt? Pretty cool, huh? In fact, you're probably going to be sitting in upfront seating, right? Because it's a whole different experience. So if you haven't, when the upfront seating comes, buy it. Because you're going to be one of those people that should be sitting up front. We want you to get that experience. So write this down. No appointments, no sales. No appointments, no sales. If you don't have an appointment, if you're not going on an appointment, you're not going to get a sale. So I want you to be spending 90% of your time looking for sellers and no more than 10% of your time looking for buyers for the next 30 work days. After that, you can change those numbers. But right now, 90% of your time looking for sellers, 10% of your time looking for buyers. In fact, I have an interesting challenge for you. Those of you that are working with buyers because you think that it's now business and that working on a seller takes too long, I'd like you to keep track of the number of hours you're spending previewing property, looking for property, writing offers on property, making offers on property you're not getting, negotiating deals on property because you're not getting the transaction. I want you to keep track of those hours. I contend that you're spending 2 or 3 times as much time working with buyers that aren't getting you anywhere than you would or could working with sellers, but it seems the opposite. But because you're doing activities looking for buyers. You guys with me on this? No, you're not, but we'll go on. I wrote down here, we need to look for sellers and buyers every day, not occasionally. Then the third point here is we need to pre-qualify every buyer and every seller. We need to pre-qualify every buyer and every seller. That has to be part of our activity. Not just financially, but emotionally. Not just financially. Are they financially capable? That's important. But are they emotionally capable? If you work with a buyer today and they're not willing to pay over list price, should you be working with them? No. Hello? No. You should not. If you're working with a buyer today that doesn't have a wide parameter of what they'll accept in a house, and they have a very narrow focus, how much time should you really be working with them? Hello? Hardly at all. Pre-qualify every buyer and every seller, not just financially, but emotionally. I wrote down a financially qualified buyer who is not ready to pull the trigger is not as good as a client who has to buy or sell now. Has to. That's what you need to determine. You need to find out the motivation. Why are they buying? Why are they selling? Next thought, next activity you must do during the next 6 weeks, 30 working days. I wrote down here, take every listing. Take every listing. But Neil, what if it's overpriced? What's my answer? Take it anyway. But Neil, what if it's overpriced a lot? Take it anyway. If they're not going to drive you nuts, meaning they're not looking for an open house every day, they're not looking for advertising every day, they're not going to expect you to show the property and it's 27 miles away from you. If you don't have that kind of a situation, you have a basically normal situation, but they think they can get more for their house right now, they're probably right. 85 to 90% of the transactions that we have, the listings we have, are selling. They're selling. And every day, we're taking right now in the office, last month we took 140 listings as a company, which is terrific. It's up from last year because you guys are getting it. Now, listing inventory is not up from last year in the market, but your listings are up over last year because you're getting it, you're understanding it. Also makes a big difference because right now, last month, we opened about 240 pendings as a company, 240 transactions. We're up 35 to 40% year over year. We're up 30 to 40% over the market year over year. The market is doing okay, but you guys are way above it. Why? Because you're doing your job, because you're taking every listing, because you're doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. If the client is somewhat motivated, take that listing, okay? Now, here's the new listing presentation. Everybody ready? Write this down. Okay? Prepare. Get your pens poised. Here's how it goes. What do you want? Okay. Let's role play. Come on. What do you want? Okay. It's my new listing presentation, and I'm sticking to it. We're going to role play that on Tuesday afternoon. That's our advanced script. Every week, without exaggeration, I get between 8 and 12 agents that come to me and are very sad because they fought the price on a listing. They fought it, and the client wanted X, and the agent didn't want to go to X, or was trying to keep them a little bit lower, wasn't excited about their price, and the client listed with someone else, what a surprise, okay, and the house sold. 8 to 12 agents a week for the last 5 weeks. Now, how do you think that makes me feel? Because what am I encouraging you? What have I been encouraging you to do over the last few months? Take the listing. Take the listing. Should you explain to the client that you think the price is over here? Absolutely. Always tell the truth. This is the range that I think the property's in. However, the market, nuts. Let's see what we can do. There's nobody better to represent them than you. Does that make sense? So don't let somebody else represent them. You represent them, and we'll do it at a little higher price. That's perfectly fine. I wrote down here the next point that we need to be working on is making a strong listing presentation. We need to be practicing, practicing, practicing. What do we practice? What's our listing presentation? What do you want? Okay. All right, good. So I wrote this down. Somewhere, someplace, someone is practicing, and when you meet them, they will beat you. Somewhere, someplace, someone is practicing. And when you meet them, they will beat you. So know how to overcome the objection handlers, know how to overcome the commission handlers, know how to work with the I have a friend in the business, know how to work with I want to think about it. Those people are listing their house. They're going to list their house at a little higher price. Get excited about it. Take the listing. Any questions on that so far? Good. Okay, next point. You need to have the ability to start over every single day. Now, here's what I mean. Write down complacency. See, some of you are having the best year you've had in years. Some of you are kind of, let me tell you, I'll tell you how I feel already. It's been 4 years since I've called to make a reservation there's a half a dozen kind of expensive places that my wife and I like to go to. And in the last 6 years, we've almost never had a pushback on a time when we've called for a reservation. Okay? On a Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Tuesday night, etc. And in the last 5 weeks, we can't get a reservation. Now, we can call a week early or a week and a half early, and we're fine. But to call the night before, it's not happening. So what's going on? The economy's picking up. People are tending to go out to dinner where they weren't before. Does that make sense? That's what's happening. And what happens there is you get into that mental gyration where you have a couple extra dollars in your pocket and you think, I don't have to prospect as much today, or I'm going to not prospect as much today, or I don't have to go chasing this deal. I don't really want to go out and get this thing signed at 9 o'clock. How many times should you have gone out at 9 o'clock to get something signed only to find out the next day that somebody else came in at 9:30 with a better offer and you lost the deal? How many times has that happened? More than I'd like to count. Stay hungry. That's what this point is about. Stay hungry. Stay hungry. Fight complacency. I wrote down here, when you think you have some money in the bank, or some listings that haven't sold, or some pendings that haven't closed, that creates some kind of a comfort zone. You need to figure out how to wake up every morning thinking you have no leads, no pendings, no listings, and no escrows. You need to get yourself psychologically in a place that throws you out of bed so that you can get going for the day. Now, it doesn't have to take much. I have to tell you, 25, 30 years ago, if I had an extra $10,000, and I mean in the checking account, it wasn't even in the savings account. If I had an extra $10,000, I'd feel a little bit more relaxed. I'd back off a little bit. And that was a very, very scary place to be, because $10,000 doesn't cover anything, right? Say yes. Okay? Nothing. So you have to make sure, so what you have to do is you have to hide your money. You have to hide it. I used to buy savings bonds. Why did I buy savings bonds? Because you couldn't cash them in for 6 months. And I don't know if the rules have changed, but the bonds I was buying, I couldn't cash in for 6 months. I had them. They were of value, but I couldn't, if I needed the cash, I couldn't get it for 6 months. So therefore, psychologically, that money was off the table. Does that make sense? I had to fool myself into thinking that, and then as time went on, I learned that, well, it's okay to have money. It's okay to have bigger money. It's because you just go out and get more money, and that's all good, right? Hello? Yes. Geez, maybe not. Wake up every morning pretending you have no leads, no listings, no escrows, and see if that doesn't throw you out of bed. Okay? I wrote down here, what is my level of commitment and how long am I willing to make it? It's only the next 30 days. What's my level of commitment and what am I willing to do for the next 30 work days? 30 work days. So you have to write down, okay, I'm willing to do this. Now I'm talking about 1,200 contacts. Maybe you're not willing to do 1,200 contacts. Maybe you say, look, Neil, I'm only going to do 1,000 contacts. That's all I'm going to do. I don't care. It's your number. But you've got to write it down. It's the number of hours you're going to work. How disciplined must I become? Write it down. Write that question down. How disciplined must I become for the next 30 work days to accomplish the goals that I've set out for myself for the next 30 work days? Here's an interesting question. If I stay at my present production for the next 6 months, will I be happy with myself? Hello? No. Yes. We got one yes.
Yes.
Two yeses. Okay, do I hear three? If I stay at my present production for the next 6 months, will I be happy with myself? Okay? Most of you are going to say no, I hope. I know what you're earning. And you need more. And if you don't think you need more, come sit with me. I'll demonstrate why and how you need more. Okay? Because you never, never, never know what tomorrow is going to bring you, where you might need something. I wrote down, put yourself in situations and with people that make you uncomfortable. Put yourself in situations and with people that make you uncomfortable. If you're always comfortable in situations, you are not going to grow. If you're always comfortable in situations, you're not going to grow. That's in part why a number of agents come to our office and get involved in what we do, because it's a working group of people. It's a working group of people. And if you're not working, you're not producing. And if you're not producing, you're not comfortable. It doesn't feel good because other people around you in the markets are selling. I mean, Mike's gone to offices, and I don't know if you saw the email I sent out the other day. You know, he's doing this 60 office tour over the last couple months. And he's gone to offices, decent-sized offices, that haven't taken a listing in a month and a half. Not the agent, the whole office. Okay? In this office, like I told you, it's 130, 140 listings a month since the beginning of the year. We keep going and rising and growing. That's not REO listings. That's not, we're getting a bunch of stuff from the bank. It's one listing at a time, one customer at a time, one agent, one listing appointment at a time, one deal at a time, each and every one of you. That's what makes the difference. You want to stay uncomfortable. I wrote down here, today matters. What will you do today to make it a difference for you tomorrow? What will you do today what activities will you work on today to make your tomorrow different? Remember, the activities you do today are going to give you results and pay you tomorrow. If you do activities today, you have a reasonable expectation to get paid tomorrow, right? Say yes. Yes. If you don't do activities today, then you don't have a reasonable expectation to get money tomorrow. Get that through your head. Focus in on what you're supposed to do. I wrote down here, you can do nothing today and have nothing tomorrow, or you can take action today and create a better tomorrow. And Earl Nightingale said, don't let the fear of time it will take to accomplish something stand in the way of you doing it. The time will pass anyway. We might just as well put that passing time to the best possible use. Now let's go out and make this the best 6 weeks we've ever had. Thank you.